Welcome to Park from the Doghouse, episode 6, featuring my good friend. We've been friends for Eastwood days. So
Eastwood,
it's been a
CYB,
long
baby.
time. Yeah.
Man.
See, yeah, that was the league. Comstock Youth Basketball.
I was dropping 35 in that league.
Man,
man.
there was a lot of goats in that league for sure.
Man. I mean, we've known each other a long time.
Yep. We're going to hit. Timmy is a youth pastor. He's down in Louisiana, New Orleans. So you're in New Orleans, right?
No. I'm in Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, even cooler.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
How do you like Louisiana? I want to get on that first. I want to talk about you and what you do first. So how did you get to Louisiana?
Well, man, first I just want to say thanks for having me. I enjoy the show. I'm glad to be on here.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So I'm thankful for that. Man. So, how did I get to Louisiana? Well, so I went to a school for college called Grace College, and I got my degree in youth ministry. And so this last fall, so like fall of 2020, that was my last semester. And so I graduated in December. And so before graduation, I was like, man, I got to find somewhere to work. And so I just kind of started applying on like this website called Church Staffing, because I wanted to work at a church, obviously. And so I just applied everywhere across the country. Like I wanted to be around like Michigan or Indiana, just in the Midwest, but I applied anywhere. And so really this church down here in Louisiana was the only one that really gave me a shot. Because, most places when you come out of college are like, man, you got to have 5 years of experience. And I'm like, well, how can I have 5 years of experience if I've never had, what do you expect out of me? I'm just graduating. And so this church gave me a shot. Right. Yeah. And so this church gave me a shot. They interviewed me 3 times, flew me down, offered me the job. And I was like, all right, I got to take it. Like the door is open. And so I just kind of said yes and moved here in December, bro. It was crazy.
Nope. Never looked back. And it seems, you have a little talk show going. We'll talk about that. Seems like everything's going good. It seems like I love to see you happy doing what you want to do, because that's the most important thing. If you're going to spend your life doing something, you might as well at least want to do it and be passionate about it.
Yeah, you got to have a passion for sure, dog. Yeah.
And you get to help out people on a daily basis, a whole bunch of new people, and I know that has to be a good feeling.
Yeah, man, like that's the best part of my job. Like that's what I kind of always tell people, like, some people are really good with numbers, some people are really good with like science and stuff, but to me the only thing that like makes sense in my head are like people. And so the only job that made sense to me, because I love God, I love Jesus, and I was like, why not just work with people? Because like I just want to make an impact and people make sense to me. So I want to invest in people's lives. And so that's what I do, man. And so, yeah, it's definitely a passion. I'm definitely happy. So it's a crazy experience for sure.
Oh yeah. And it's cool to see the grind of, I remember we were just talking about, we used to mess around in basic media, making the school news and stuff. And now you're all the way in Baton Rouge, changing people's lives. So,
oh man,
that's cool. What's it like to be a youth pastor in 2021? Because the world, in my opinion, the world is just as crazy of a place today as it was probably 1,000 years ago. Just it's more easy to see it because the media and social media, all that. But what's it like? What's it like?
That's a good question, bro. Like I agree. Like everybody kind of says like the world, like they think the world's worse now than it ever was. I don't think that's true. I think the world has always been a crazy, terrible, sinful place. And I think there's always been bad things. I just think we have a phone to go and record it, right? Like, I think there's just like, it's easy to see it now. Like there's always been terrible things going on. So like, that's true. And another thing, like, being a youth pastor in 2020 or being in ministry in 2021, we live in a very post-Christian world. So like post-Christian America, I should say. So like, America in the 50s was super Christian, and then like slowly it kind of unraveled and became less Christian, more progressive. And so we're at a point where we're post-Christian. And so it's almost like being a Christian or a leader in a Christian church. If you take the Bible serious, or if you take your faith serious, you're almost feel like there's always a chance you might get canceled just because you believe in Jesus. So it's a very interesting world you live in. And, most people you run into don't have a religious affiliation anymore. And so it's very interesting being a youth pastor in 2021, because a lot of the kids I interact with, they either don't believe in God, they don't know what they believe in, or they've never had an opportunity. And so, and everything around them doesn't really, promote a godly lifestyle, or it doesn't promote Jesus. It promotes other things. And so I'd say being a pastor in 2021, it can be difficult, challenging. You have to grind. You have to love people unconditionally. And yes, we live in a post-Christian society, and you just got to work through it.
Yep. And are you able to utilize like the internet media in a very, well, I would say obviously positive way to help, get your word out there and just the message you want to spread?
Oh yeah, man. Like that's the thing. It's like technology is such a blessing. Like, man, like because everybody is on their phone or like they're seeing media, like we as the church, we have to utilize that too. I kind of think of social media and it's a voice. And so everybody's putting their voice on there. And if I believe in Jesus, like I say I do, and if I'm not putting my voice on there, then that's a chance that they're not hearing about Jesus. And so for me, technology is huge, whether that's Instagram. I want to start using TikTok with it. It's just kind of hard because it's like TikTok, the algorithm, like you have to do something trendy. You can't just be like, so that's a hard balance. But yeah, technology is huge right now when spreading the word. And you got to do it, because if you don't, you're going to get washed out by everything else on social media.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that TikTok, it is. We've gotten into that, and it's like you said, it's hard to, you really got to be able to think of something that's also trending and make that into a funny video, catchy video. So that's the hardest social media, I think, for us too, for sure.
I agree. 100%.
What is the end goal from your, 30, 40 years down the road from now? What do you want to have either built, or what do you want to achieve from being a youth pastor?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, this is kind of my goal every day. And the thunder went crazy. You hear that? That was nuts. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I jumped. You might see it in the video. But my goal 30, 40 years from now, whether if I'm in youth ministry or not, like my life goal as a youth pastor, or just me as a person, is to make disciples of Jesus that also make disciples. So when I get older, I want to be able to say, man, I invested in that kid's life, then he invested in somebody else's life, and that person, it's just this downward spiral of disciples making disciples. I want to make heaven crowded. I just want people to fall in love with Jesus and pursue him and to live for God. Because to me, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing more fulfilling. And, a relationship with God is the one thing I think that matters. What you believe about God, whether you believe him or you don't, changes your whole trajectory in life and how you live. And so that's like the most important question and answer for me. So I want people to know Jesus, and I want them to tell people about Jesus. So disciples that make disciples.
Yep. Give a gift that keeps giving, for sure.
Exactly. 100%.
So besides from being a youth pastor, what have you gotten into post high school? It's been a while since we've really connected, gotten together, talked. What have you been up to?
Man, I'm trying to think. Man, that makes it sound boring because I can't just think of something. But like, I don't know, man. Like in college, I mean, I was still into sports a lot. Like sports are still huge in my life. In college, we played a bunch of intramural sports, won a bunch of intramural championships and stuff. I'm really big into this is kind of like a hobby right now, but I'm really big into like journaling. I like being able to journal. I have like stacks of journals just about my life that one day I kind of want to publish, like just like my thoughts, to see what, because like my thing is like when you're in ministry, a lot of people kind of think you're perfect because you're a youth pastor, you're a pastor, and so my journals, they're raw. I'm honest about my struggles, and like I want people to see what it looks like to actually be a Christian, because it's not easy, it's not perfect, and so that's something I've been journaling. I got into streaming for a little bit, streaming video games. That's a grind, and I really enjoy doing it. It's just like I don't have time to continually do it a lot, but I like to stream. And yeah, so just like little things, man. But like it's kind of tough because your career kind of becomes your whole life a lot of the time. So it's like that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh yeah. Well, you're definitely doing good. But I can see how you're doing good. So I'm proud of you for sure.
I appreciate
how's
it.
the family doing? How's the family? How's AT? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, man. That's you got all my 9 siblings there. There's like 100 of
Yeah.
us, but they're doing good, man. My sister Stacy, she's about to have a kid. She's gonna have a little daughter. She's due honestly this weekend, so I'm really excited for that. She gets married in October. Austin, AT, he's doing really well. He's he's been working from home for a company in Florida. And he's gotten like swole. That man's got jacked. Like I need his workout routine, bro. He got absolutely massive. What else?
Hey, that's
I'm trying
cool
to
though.
think. Pops, mom, and dad. Yeah, man, he gets to work from home, which is nice. And he's a financial analyst, so he does a lot of financial stuff. Mom and dad are good. They're just working. Everybody's good, man. They're just living life in a COVID world, and now that it's kind of coming down, like it's kind of interesting. But my little sister's going into 9th grade. We're all doing good, man. We're all doing our thing. I definitely miss them being down here in Louisiana. You kind of want to. When you get older, you're like, oh man, I just want to move out. I just want to do all these things. And then, you move out and you're wherever you are for a couple months and you're like, dang, like I kind of miss my family. Like when you're 12 years old, you're like, I want to get out of here. Like, and then you're 21, you're like, I'd rather just like not have a job and just live at home. Like, so like, I miss the family.
Yeah, I feel that one for sure. So at what age would you say you realized like you really wanted to become a youth pastor?
That's a good question. I think my whole life, like I had this like weird, like before I was even a Christian, like I had this weird feeling that I'd end up being a pastor. Like it was weird. Like I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, because my grandpa was a pastor. And I remember being like, Mom, I kind of want to be a pastor one day. I don't know why. Like I just had this feeling, but I never took it too serious because I wasn't even a Christian yet. And then, summer going into my senior year, I go on like this mission trip with my youth group because I started going to church.
Yep.
And I went on that trip and like I gave my life to Jesus. I wanted to be a follower of Jesus, and I committed my life to him. And I did that because God kind of like moved in my heart. But another reason I did that is because of the impact my youth pastor had on me. Like I wouldn't know Jesus today if it wasn't for my youth pastor. And he's one of my best friends. And so I know the impact he had on me. And so I wanted to have that same impact on other people while also just spreading the word of God.
Yeah.
So definitely.
So what is your relationship with God, you'd say, and how did you come? Because for some people, I know a lot of people who say like they are Christian or they believe in something like in higher power, but they don't know exactly what. What helps you just every day? Like what you're doing, that's what you're gonna be doing. Like you don't have any second thoughts. You're committed. Like you said, you gave your life to him.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I think that's a question I'm still trying to answer every day. I don't know if I have the 100% answer because it takes faith. To say that I don't struggle with doubt at times or struggle with insecurities when it comes to my faith, I'd be lying. But for me, what it comes down to is God's love for me. I believe God loved me so much, not just me, but everybody so much that he'd send his son to die on the cross for us and, in Jesus. And so I'm like, if somebody so perfect wanted to save somebody so imperfect like me, I've got to look into that. So it's God's love for me that motivates me. But then through that, more of God's character is revealed that I'm like, okay, God is so awesome. Like when I'm a failure, God is faithful. Like when I'm unfaithful, God is faithful. So it's his loyalty and love to me that I'm like, I can't give up on that. Do I struggle with like sin? Do I struggle with doubt? Am I imperfect? 100%. But it comes down to God is never going to leave me. He loves me. And if he's that way towards me, I've got to go every day trying to live like that for him. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey, that's a good answer, because that is a tough question to answer for sure. What are important qualities of being a good youth pastor, or just anybody who works with youth? What are some good, what have you learned your qualities that help you the most on a daily basis?
A lot of times people think of like a pastor that they have to be really good at speaking. They have to be really good at preaching, and like that helps, but that's not one of the main qualities. I think for me, one of the main qualities is being authentic. When you're working with high schoolers and middle schoolers, man, they smell bull crap from a mile away. If they know that you're faking your love for Jesus or faking your love for them, they're going to know. They're going to know you're a poser. And so it's just being authentically yourself, and being raw and real. Like that's what teenagers want. They don't want the fake stuff. They want something real. And so for me, the big thing is being real about who I am, real about my struggles, real about my faith, real about my past. Another thing is just being there, being present. So I'd say authentic and real, being present. And thirdly, I think it's just being faithful to what you believe, to the core. If you waver in your values, if you kind of flip flop a lot, and they're going to look at you as a hypocrite. And we all are hypocrites. Every single person is a hypocrite in this world. But I think the best, right. So like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't been a hypocrite before and like waver. But the best thing you can do is say, okay, this is what God's word says. This is what my value, my belief is. I'm going to tell you about it, why I believe it. I may not try to make you believe it, but this is where I stand. And if you're real and authentic about that, kids are going to buy in. And I don't mean buy in like God's a business or something, or a program, but buy in the sense of like, there's something real about that. There's a reason he sticks to that. So I say authenticity, being present with them, showing them that you're there for them. And thirdly, just staying true to what you believe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So have you ever, would you say, drifted away from God? And if so, how did you, find your way back to him?
Man, that's probably one of my favorite questions, because no Christian wants to admit that they've fallen away from God or drifted away or aren't focusing on him. And yeah, I have. And, I have in my recent life, honestly, when I moved down here as a youth pastor, I went through a struggle where God wasn't my main focus. And so I did drift, and, I still like, it's not like I didn't believe, like, it's not like I was like, okay, like, I don't believe in this anymore. It just, I replaced it. I almost made other things my God.
Put it on the back burner, sort of.
I put it on the back burner, and I idolized other things and put them before God, and almost acted like they were God instead of the actual creator of the universe. And so, yeah, I've drifted from God, and that turned me to like some sin in my life that I struggled with. And it brought me to a place where I was really low and far from God. And I don't want to say like depressed, like I was clinically depressed, but like I was in a very depressing state and anxiety ridden. And because I was away from the thing that gives me life, right? Like God. Yep. And so how did I get back to that? Well, one, I just want to say, like, a lot of times as people and as Christians, we think if we drift from God, God drifts from us. But that's not how it works. Like, if I run from God, he's running after me. Like, he's pursuing me. Like, he never stops pursuing me. So now that doesn't give us a right to be like, okay, well, I'll run away from him then. But what it means is, like, even at your lowest, God is going to meet you where you're at. And so for me, that was a reminder that, okay, maybe I'm not doing what I should. God's not my priority. I'm struggling with sin, but God hasn't left my side and he's still being faithful to me. So that's one thing, being reminded of that. But two, having people in your life that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to be real with you and be like, hey, Tim, like, or whoever it is, like, what you're doing right now, like, you're far from God, or with that lifestyle you're living, like, I don't think that's correct. I think that's hurting you. Like, people just being honest and saying, that's not you. You're not living like you're supposed to. And you're not living for God like you're supposed to, or you're not being yourself. So like people that are willing to call you out, naturally as humans, and I feel like you'd probably agree with this. Like we want like yes men in our life instead of people that are going to call us out. Right? Like I struggle with this because I don't want people to challenge me and critique me or give me criticism, but like we need that. And so like this last stage of me, kind of drifting or like just not putting him at the forefront of my life, my pastor had to, like, we were having meetings and he had to sit me down and be like, Tim, what's going on in your life? Because not only was it affecting my personal life, but it was affecting my work. And so he had to sit me down and be like, okay, where are you at with God right now? And when I would talk to him about it, he was just straight up with me. He's like, hey man, like, you know the deal. Like, this is what you believe. I know you believe it. I know you love this. So we got to get you back on track somehow. And so just people willing to love you and hold you accountable. And it's not judgmental. It can be. Some people come at it from a judgmental side of like, you are not doing the right thing. But if they really follow Jesus, it's going to come from a place of, hey, I love you and I want what's best for you.
Right. And yeah, definitely. And I'm a Christian for sure. What I would say, not what brought me back, but when I had, PJ, and then I obviously have Reese now too. Those were two very big things because it's just like every day I wake up and they're, healthy, happy. They got everything they need in life. Like, that's a blessing. And I think a lot of people take just the simple fact of being here for granted, because there's so many people who have, as bad as some people think their problems are, there's always somebody with something worse. Yeah. And there's always somebody with something better. And you just have to be content with what you got. And, every day you wake up is another chance to fix your mistakes from the day before, or, just try to make good, positive impact on the world, for sure.
Definitely, man. Yeah. And like, that's the thing is, we live in a very gimme society instead of a thankful society. It's like, I got to get the next thing, or I got to get this or that. Like, instead of just being like, man, I'm so glad I have this. Like, and so, yeah, right. I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's very true, because it is a very, it's so like fast paced too, that I just think people sometimes, they either don't have the time, or I think it's very important for people to just take the 5 or 10 minutes out of your day to think about, like, all the good stuff that happened today, like all the things that could have went wrong and didn't, and just be thankful for that. And whatever, obviously my belief is, Christianity. Like, I just believe I couldn't do what I do for my kids or my wife without God, because I've gone through plenty of struggles, and, there's been down times, but when I get closest to God, I've just found that's what helps me get through those down times. Yeah. So, and I've just, over time, I've realized, like, it's, to me, in my mind, it's not a, fluke or something. Like, I feel like everything I pray for, it might not be, which I also make a point. I try to make most of my prayers at night, like, not about, can I have this, or can I get, can you help me, whether it's get a better job or do this or that. I try to just be thankful. Like, thanks for giving me this. Thanks for giving me, the energy to wake up today and go to work, do what I have to do. Just thanks for that. Because that's what keeps us moving. It's just all the little stuff God does that it's very easy to overlook.
Yeah, bro. And I got two things to say to that, because one, with the prayer thing, is like a lot of people, there's a scripture that Jesus says, like, if you ask, you will receive, right? Mm-hmm. But like prayer is not about us. Like, there are times to pray for things about us when we really need them, but people kind of get wants and needs mixed up still. I remember in elementary school, they would always tell us there's a difference between a want and a need, but we never seem to understand that. And so, like, even in prayer, I think a lot of times we go for our wants instead of our needs. And so God knows exactly what we need. And so we can ask for him, like, be like, hey, Lord, like, I really need this. But if it's not actually what you need, he's not going to give it to you.
Right.
And if it doesn't align with his will, he's not going to give it to you either. And that's where you just have to trust, like, God's perfect. He's got a plan. He knows what he's going to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just be thankful because he's in control and he's got me here and he's going to get me here. He's going to get me to the next point in 20 years. So, like, I should just trust him. And it's not blind faith or anything. But, like, and another thing, too, you're like, just being thankful, like, every day, like, trying to think of things to be thankful for. I had a class in college where we had to write down, like, 200 things we were thankful for. And it was kind of challenging and it was convicting because it's like, man, like these are things I don't think about, but I am thankful for. But I just let them go like every day as if they're nothing. Like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, because there is so much stuff every day that we overlook, never think twice about that. We are blessed to have this stuff. There's like just water, like that's something people. There's so many people, not even just in upcoming countries or third world countries. People in Lansing, Flint, who still don't have perfectly clean water. There's people that's not even 100 miles away from me.
Right.
So like I'm blessed that I have that, and I pray that God helps them get clean water. And over the last 5 years, it's definitely gotten better.
Definitely.
How do you motivate kids towards God? Because they're like you were saying, not especially with the younger age. I feel like my little brother. It can be hard to connect with him sometimes about religion, for sure, because he's so. I don't know, this new generation, which I feel like an old person when I say that, but I feel like they're very, like you said, they're very skeptical, and they just want to know, like, if I don't want you preaching this to me unless you really believe it, like, unless you really you are really authentic, and you just want me to believe in this because it will better me as a person.
Right. Yeah, man, that's funny. I just talked about this in my youth group, but the way you motivate them, there's two things that really came to mind when you said this. Every generation, it's not just this generation, but every generation, we're looking and seeking for something to fulfill us. That's what we want. We want to be fulfilled. And so we want to feel satisfied. We want to have a purpose in life. And so what you do, to achieve that purpose, there's a lot of different things. We want to feel fulfillment. And so we do that in good ways and bad ways. So, I kind of explained to the youth, like a lot of times, in high school, I sought fulfillment from girls or, sports or, popularity or whatever. And they're not necessarily bad things, right? But then we also search for it. We also search for fulfillment in drugs, alcohol, sex, rock and roll, gambling, like whatever it is, like things that, too much of or in the wrong context or in the wrong boundaries are bad. And so we're always searching fulfillment. And the thing is, whether the fulfillment we're looking for, like the things that we're putting our time into are good or bad, they never satisfy. If they did satisfy, we wouldn't have to do them over and over and over again. And so that's what I tell them is like, look, whatever you're into, like, that's cool. I hope it's not a bad thing, but I'm telling you right now, it's not going to compare to having a relationship with God, because God is the source of life. And Jesus says, he says in John, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so what does that mean? And so, Jesus is God. And so he's like saying, like, man, like literally, I am the way. Like, there is nothing else that matters. And so, when my kids are telling me what they're chasing after, I'm like, yo, like, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the source of life. And so, he is the way to heaven. He is the way to a relationship with God, the Father. He is the truth. And so that's another part of this is like, so we're all seeking fulfillment, but we're all seeking truth. That's why conspiracy theories are such a big thing, is because we're so skeptical. Like, we want to know the truth. We want to know the truth so bad that we like start diving deep into things, which is fine. But, Jesus is the truth, and Jesus is the full embodiment of truth. It's his character. And so if you're searching for truth, you got to start at Jesus. And so you tell students, okay, if you want to be fulfilled, That doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect in your life, but if you want to be fulfilled and have purpose and a meaning to live, God is that meaning. If you want truth, Jesus is that truth, and he's the life. And what does that mean? There's two things that means, and I'm not trying to like go crazy. I am trying to go crazy in depth. I don't want to take too much time.
Oh yeah, that's what I brought you on for.
Okay, good. So like, I didn't know if we're trying to keep this in a certain time frame, but so Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. He is what fulfills us. He is the way to the Father, to heaven. He is the truth. There is nothing but truth outside, like inside of him, nothing outside of him. You know what I mean? Like he is the truth. And there's students are searching for both of those things, but they're also searching for life. I believe, Jesus is the source of life. He is the one that created us. So one, if he created us, just like we owe our parents some kind of debt for bringing us in this world, Jesus literally created this world, this universe, and us. And that's what I believe. And I don't just like believe it because somebody told me. I believe that. And so Jesus created us. So in just that basis, I owe him my life, because I wouldn't be here on this earth if he didn't create me. Two, he is the life because he sustains my body. God is what literally allows my body to work. Yeah. I always tell people this, like right now, you are not choosing to breathe. You don't think every second like, okay, I got to breathe now. It's happening because God, who is life, is putting that breath in you without you even realizing, and allowing you to wake up in the morning. And three, he is spiritual life. So, another reason why we seek fulfillment is because we're spiritually dead inside. Our sin, the thing that corrupts us from the beginning when we're born, I believe, is that we're sinful. That doesn't mean I don't think it necessarily that means that every person in the world is like Hitler. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is that we all have the capacity to sin the minute we're born, and that sin separates us from God. And so because of that, when you put your faith in Jesus, because sin makes you dead inside spiritually, when you put your faith in Jesus, you become a new person, giving you spiritual life and eternal life. And so I know that's a long answer, but what I'm saying is when students are seeking fulfillment, truth, and life, spiritually and physically, and so you tell them that Jesus is the fulfillment of those things, and you're honest about it. And so that's kind of where it is, and that leads to like one of the most famous passages of all time is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, for whoever believe in him should not perish but have eternal life. And so you tell students the truth about these things, that I know that when you're doing drugs and you're partying, that may seem fun, but that's not going to fulfill you. Because if it did, you wouldn't have to do it over. I know that you're seeking truth, but each avenue you're looking for leads you down a different rabbit hole that leads you to more confusion and more doubt. Well, I'm telling you right now, you may not have it all together, but Jesus is the truth, and it's going to take you a while to fully comprehend that, and you never will fully on earth because he's God, but he is the truth, and that's where you're going to find your satisfaction for truth, and he's going to give you life. And so those are those things, and so I'll stop there, and then I have another thought, but that's kind of where I start, really.
So how often are your youth group meetings? And then also, what would you say is the best age to get your kids, starting to go to church? Because I've heard a lot of different, some people, the earlier the better. It's good structure, and it's, food for the week. No matter what you're going through, it will bring you some positivity. Right. And then I've also heard some people, they really don't care until their kid is old enough to understand, what is being said and all that. What's your opinion on that? What's the age group to get started?
Right. Well, first we meet on Sunday nights from 5 to 7, once a week, and that's because we're probably at like 30 to 35 students right now, middle school and high school. And if we were bigger, we'd probably split up middle school one night on Wednesdays and high school on Sunday nights. But right now we're just strictly Sunday nights. The age group thing, our youth group is 6th through 12th grade. But to answer the question of what age should my kid, are you saying go to church or youth group or both?
What's the best age? So obviously it seems like sixth grade, that's the age the youth group starts taking into play. So we'll go past that, but just church in general, when's the best age to start, getting your kids involved, in your opinion?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. And my opinion is this: if you want your kid to know Jesus, churches has to be important. I don't think there's an age limit, because the best way for your kid to know Jesus is to see you as an example of following Jesus. So if you don't make church a priority, they're not going to make church a priority. Now, that doesn't mean it's like, okay, like so ritualistic that it's like it burns them out. That's not what I mean. But if you're faithfully loving Jesus and going to church and living that out, they're going to want to do that too. The problem comes with this is that, because I really don't think it's an age thing. A lot of times the thing is, like, parents bring their infants, they go to kids care or whatever. It's just fine. So like most kids probably start going to church service and not going to the kid programs in the morning, probably like 10, 9 years old, but it really depends on their maturity themselves, because some kids are mature earlier than other kids. They mature earlier. But I don't know, for me, the big problem with kids not wanting to go to church is because to them Christianity only matters on Sunday, right? Like they see their parents only care about Jesus on Sunday, but then the rest of the week their parents don't talk about Jesus. They don't talk about the Bible. They don't talk about their faith. They don't live it out.
Yep.
So when it comes to church Sunday, they're thinking, why do we go to church? Because you don't act like a Christian the rest of the week. So why do we go?
Right. So it's false. It's not genuine, like you're saying.
Exactly. So the big thing is there's not an age limit. You limit your kids based on how much you love Jesus.
That's a good answer. That's a deep answer. That's because, I definitely understand what you're saying. That's going to affect that more than, just, my kid's not, super into church because I brought him at 6 compared to 8 or something like that. It's more, which is true. Your role as a parent, you are the main role model, and you give your kid, if your job is to give them, good core values and good morals and want to be a good part of society. And
yes,
so
sir.
I definitely think it's a good answer. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about when it comes to being a youth pastor, Christian, anything, any big topics you wanted to vocalize?
Now, I don't know, man. The one thing I was going to say too, in regards to reaching students and motivating them to follow Jesus, is you said that, your brother's skeptical of things. They are, like, this generation is very skeptical. And so the best way to motivate them is to do your own research. If you don't know the science and the logic and the philosophy, not the philosophy, but like the reason you believe what you believe, or the history, if you just believe it because you just have like faith, and faith is a big thing, but if you don't do the research and get deep into like the actual logical reasons of why this is real, then you're not going to reach them. They want facts. So if I can't tell them why the Bible is actually accurate and why, like, there's not contradictions, because then they're not going to believe me if I can't give them an answer. And that doesn't mean I have all the answers, but if I'm not doing my side of it and researching of why Jesus was a real historical person, because there are people that believe like Jesus didn't actually exist, which scholarly is not accurate at all. There's no actual credible scholar that would say Jesus didn't exist. They all believe he exists. Atheists even. Like, so if I'm not doing my research on the science, the history, and the reasons why Christianity is true, and being able to communicate that, then I'm going to miss some students, because they want that. They want the truth.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think a lot of with the science part, I think a lot of people get it confused that, if you're a Christian, you think modern day science is just totally garbage. And because I believe in science, but like, what made that molecule? Like, we know we're made up of molecules and atoms, all that, but what made that? And I can keep asking that, and eventually I will get any scientist to the point where they're like, we don't know. We don't have a scientific explanation for that. And that's, where my Christianity, that's where I think God, like you say, is the maker of life. And I don't think we'll ever find like a hard evidence of that, because that's one of the main points of being a Christian is you have faith, which is you don't see. I don't know. In my opinion, I see Jesus, just not, I don't see Jesus come to me, but I see just all the actions he does through other people, and I just real. I know he's real, and I can intermix that with what I've learned to be true, like science, and I can involve that with my Christianity as well.
Bro, yeah, I totally agree. Like seeing Jesus through other people, like that's the point. I'm supposed to be a vessel of Christ, right? Like I'm supposed to live out how Jesus would live. So that's a big thing. And two, like the Bible, Paul tells us, where is it? Okay, so in the Bible, Paul tells us this, and he says, I think it's Romans, or maybe it's Acts. It's Romans or Acts, but he and maybe I'm completely wrong, but he tells us, everybody in their heart is searching for God. Like everybody in their heart knows God exists, like he exists. If that wasn't true, then 2,000 years ago, not even 2,000, but like years ago, religion would have been debunked because everybody, you know what I mean? But everybody knows that there's a God, and so we try to find the answer for that. And Paul goes on to say, you can, you're a fool to say there is no God, right? Like, and like, so like to go outside and to look at everything and say there is no God is foolish. I can walk outside and look at a tree and go, yeah, God exists, because it's the concept of intelligent design.
Yes.
So, you've heard of that. It's you look at a watch and you break it down from its parts and you open it up and you look at the trinkets and you go, wow, that's really complicated, right? Somebody made this. Somebody smart made that.
Right.
But you look at a human body and how much more complicated a human body is and how everything works perfectly together. And we say that just happened on its own.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Like a watch that is so complicated, we go, a human made that. Somebody had to make that. But our bodies that are so much more complicated in our mind, so much more complicated to watch, we go, nah, that just happened by accident. Doesn't make sense.
Right. And because it is so, even if you just look at Earth, like it's literally like a couple thousand feet or some small, when you look at the big picture, some small amount of, yards or feet we're away. If we were closer to the sun or farther from the sun, we would not be able to survive. Like, and it's just so, to me, it's like beautiful just how it's designed. Like, it's not just here, it was designed, in my opinion.
Yeah,
just perfect.
Yes, bro. Yeah, that's so true. And like, it is, yeah, if we were anywhere except here, we wouldn't exist, right? Like where we are. But like also too, like, I don't know like the actual stat to it or like the statistic, but the probability, I mean, like it's pretty, the probability of all our bone, when we're born, for all our bones to be in the correct place for us to function is impossible. Yet more often than not, all of us are born with our bones in the right place. Like there's anomalies, don't get me wrong, but it's the probability of us having our bones in the exact place they need to be for us to function is impossible. But you and I have our bones exactly where they need to be.
Right.
So it's crazy. And then like another thing, and I don't want to continue, like I do want to continue this, but I know we want to talk about some other stuff, but like, for me, it comes down to the concept of morality when it comes to the existence of God. If there is no God, I don't believe there's any morality in the world. Because I'm trying to phrase it in the right way. So if it's just me, if you and I are just stardust and the Big Bang happened and over evolution, like we evolved from this small, germ or whatever, and we became something big as humans, there is no standard outside of me for what is right and wrong.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's just survival of the fittest. So if I were to kill you, that doesn't matter because that's just the universe weeding out a bad gene.
Yeah. Exactly.
And not only does it not matter, that doesn't mean if there was no God, people wouldn't make good decisions. It would just mean that that's your own morality.
Right, and there's no consequences for bad decisions, really.
Right, because all it would be is this. There's no standard bigger than you. So it would be, I would say, I think killing people is bad. You would say, I think killing people is good. And there would be nothing bigger than us to say who is right.
Right.
So if you killed somebody, you would say, well, that's what I think is right. And I would say that's wrong. Who's right? Because there's no standard above us that makes that happen. So it's like Hitler thinks it's okay to kill a bunch of people, millions of Jews. He thought that was right in his head. Like
right.
That was his morality. So what intrinsically about us go, that's wrong? That's because there's a God that created everything and put a perfect natural law into the world. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, morality is the biggest thing. Like outside of God, there is no concept of love. Like there is no reason for us to love each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's not. Like, and that's what I think. If you look at animals, like
right,
animals, which I believe are God's creatures for sure, but there's something special about us humans. He loves all creatures equally, but we're just, I don't know how to explain. We have opposable thumbs or whatever you want to say.
we can do this.
We do love, and I know animals love too, but like wild animals, it's the difference between a tamed animal and a wild one. You give a dog love, that dog will love you and live, for you per se, for the rest of its life because you showed it love, like just that. Now, if that dog's in the wild and it has nothing like feeding it, giving it love and support, petting it, what do feral dogs do? They just run in packs, kill, eat, and that's their life.
Right.
No meaning to it, I guess.
No, man, that's facts. Like that's so true. And like you said I can't put my fingers on like what it is that makes us different. And I would say biblically, like what I believe through scripture is we're made in God's image and animals aren't. So like that doesn't mean necessarily like God looks like Parker or God looks like me. What it means is intrinsically we have like the characteristics that we're able to create, right? We're made in God's image. So we want to love people. We want to care for people. We want justice. Like that's why right now, like social justice movement is huge, right? And some of it credible, some of it can be a little like, over the board, you know what I mean? But like it's because God is the character of God, is within us. Like, but our sin corrupted that. So like we're made in God's image. So we're able to think, we're able to process, we're able to create love, care, want justice, want truth, those type of things. So I would say the thing that makes us different is God intentionally made us to be in his image. We are his reflection. I read a book and it said it like this. It's like we're a cardboard cutout almost of God, right? So we're not God, but we are a reflection of him. And so that's why it's wrong. That's why it's wrong to murder. That's why it's wrong to kill, because you're killing somebody that is the reflection of God. And so I read it like this, and it'd be like you had a cardboard cutout of you in a room, and this is why sin sucks. I'm in the room with your cardboard cutout over here, and you walk in and you see me beating it up, and I turn around and go, "Hey man, what's up?" You know that that's me beating you up. It may not be you physically, but that's me beating your reflection up. So that's the same thing with murder and sin and morality is we're made in God's image. And when we sin, we're hurting each other as a reflection of God's image. Does that make sense?
I mean,
that's it.
Yeah, we are hurting God when you sin, because that is, think about if you sacrifice, like most people's main prize thing in life is their kids. Like you sacrifice your kids for people to be able to live life and like live, sacrifice for your sins, so you're not gonna burn for an eternity. You're gonna just have a good life,
right?
And then they sort of turn around and just despite you, like, thanks, but 70% of us don't care that you just did that. Like that, I can imagine that would hurt like bad.
Yeah, man. Like it's yeah. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, and like it's so crazy too. And like even Christians do that though. Like
Yeah.
where we stop caring. Like we kind of get numb to the fact that God loved us so much that He sacrificed His Son so we could be forgiven. Like if here's the thing, and this is the hard truth. Like if you don't put your faith in that man, like I'm not here like preaching like hell, fire, and brimstone. Like that's not what I mean. But like I believe there's eternity with God, and I think there's an eternity without God. And there's only one way to that eternity with God, and that's putting your faith in Jesus. And so, if God is willing to sacrifice His Son, man, like I'm going that way. Like, so that's where I'm at.
Because that's that's the ultimate show. Like that's Him showing that is so like unselfish. Like so unselfish. He could have just said, you know what? I just want to live in the kingdom with me, my son, my angels, and that's good. We can all just live here, and we will live. They will live like it will be heavenly. But I want you guys, my creations, my reflections, to be up here with me. Because all you have to do is earn it. And
right, because dude, Parker, that's I might use that in a sermon, man.
Oh
that's
yeah,
good. Hey, Pastor Parker coming in here, bro. But
words out. You have the knowledge, though. I can tell like how you. That's why I think it's cool how you talk about it. You're able to give like detailed references. You are good at what you do, and that just right there shows authenticity. You put work into this. Like you put work into like what's the best verse or scripture I can read to maybe help somebody going through this situation or that situation.
Yeah. Well, man, dog, I appreciate that for real because, sometimes I just think I'm babbling. Like sometimes I just think I'm spewing. And so like I appreciate that. And like, yeah, man, at the end of the day, God doesn't need us. He created us because He wanted us, but He doesn't need us. We need Him, but we don't want Him a lot of the time. So that's the thing. Right. Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, right. And so we chase after these things that we don't need and run away from the thing we do need, which is Him. And yet He doesn't need us and yet pursues what He wants us. So like I think that's so cool, and I'm glad you brought that up. But I really appreciate hyping me up because it's a tough job, and sometimes you kind of wonder if what you're doing is making any impact or if you're even reaching anybody. I really appreciate that a lot, and I'm glad you had me on
always easy,
to
and
talk about
especially
this stuff.
doing what you do. Like
really
not everybody's gonna fully just accept what you have to say. So it takes a lot of determination for sure.
Frozen. I think it's frozen. Yeah. Was it frozen for a second?
It was frozen for a second, but I could hear you.
You heard what I said?
Yep. Were you able to hear what I said?
No.
All right. Well, that's why I was saying that, it's not, you talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, and I know there's some of them that don't, they might look at you and just be like, you're crazy, or you don't know what you're talking about, or like, yeah, I'm listening, like, but I hear you, but I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And you just the persistence of you being there every day, they see you doing good, and you tell them like, I want you to be just as happy. Everybody's version of happiness is different, but there's just so many ways to happiness. And I think through God. If you connect with God, it will help you reach that whatever your version of happiness is.
Yeah. Well, and that's, man, I feel like, we keep trying to like, we're like, okay, I think we're going to start going into like maybe like the sports topic next, but like we keep just saying more and like.
And there's no time limit. We can talk about this.
Okay, good. I didn't know. Man, I could talk all day about this, but I do want to hear what your takes on some sports are. But happiness is good. But my goal in life is not to make people happy because happy doesn't satisfy. My goal in life is for people to have joy in Jesus. That happiness, which is true, comes from like God. And that like wherever you're searching for it, like it should come from God first, right? And like I agree, but I was going to say like there's a difference between happiness and joy. Because I think happiness, I want people to be happy, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's the full extent. I think there's a difference between happiness and joy. I want people to be joyful more than anything. because I think happiness comes from your circumstances. So what do you do when your circumstances are bad? Are you just going to go, well, my circumstances are bad and now I can't be happy? Or are you going to go, my circumstances are bad, but I'm still going to choose joy because I know how good God is? And so I think happiness is circumstantial. I think joy is a choice. You can choose to put your joy in Jesus and be joyful because you know he's going to provide, because you know he loves you. But happiness, you can't really choose it because it's dependent on your circumstances. You choose joy, which is more fulfilling because it comes from God. Happiness is dependent on your circumstances. So that's kind of where I see it. And so I want people to be happy, but just know when your circumstances are low, joy is what's going to carry you through those circumstances because your joy comes from something supernatural, comes from Christ. And so that's kind of my view on that.
Yeah, and joy, I see what you're saying. Joy is like it's more fulfilling, I guess. Like it's more of a, like you said, mindset almost compared to emotion. Like
Right.
yeah, it's almost like if you like something, it's the same as you dislike something or you hate something. Like hate is that much. That's obviously a negative, version, but that's a much stronger viewpoint than I don't like chicken nuggets compared to like I absolutely hate whatever. But
yeah, man. Like and that's exactly it. Like, and at the end of the day, like, happiness can only take you so far. That's why millionaires, Tom Brady said it like this. He goes, I've won all these championships, but I feel like there's got to be something more. Because like if I won all those championships, had all that money and a supermodel wife, I'd be happy, but I feel like there's something more. And so that's where joy and Jesus comes in, because joy is a choice. And then you realize that God is fulfilling me. And so when I wake up, I either have money or I don't, but I'm choosing joy because God is the best thing I have in the first place. So it's like, I had to help because it floods a lot down here in Louisiana. And I had to help a family whose house flooded and we had to get everything out. And they were still so joyful. And it didn't make sense to me. Like, a lot of your crap got ruined. Your house is flooded. You got to go through all this stuff. And yet they're still saying God is so good. That doesn't come from happiness. That comes from a choice of saying God is what makes my life good. And so I'm going to choose that joy in him. So that's where I stand on that. But
and honestly, I'm a big believer. There's been times, growing up, I had problems with my parents. They just had problems. And I used to just wonder, like, why do I have to go through this? Like, why would God put me through all this? But down the road, 5-6 years later, I pray to God and thank him for making me go through that stuff, because I think that made me a way better person and way more having kids young and being mature about it and doing what I have to do. All that I helped for a couple years, like my freshman, sophomore year. I was pretty much not raising, I wouldn't say, but I was the main person making sure my brother was okay, because I didn't feel comfortable telling anybody else, because I didn't want, my mom to get in trouble, or I just was a kid. I didn't know what would happen. So I never told anybody about, like, my mom's, both my parents have struggled with addiction problems.
Right.
They both have gotten better. And when I say that, I hate even saying it because I don't want people to have a negative, outlook on them.
I know.
Because I love my parents. I know they're good people. Like, it's hard, and it's hard,
addiction is crazy, man.
Looking in, but like my parents have struggled with those problems, but yet throughout all of that, I've always known, like, my parents are there for me no matter what, no matter how low. If I really need them for something, they will come through. They will help me. They will do whatever they literally can to do, just give me the slightest bit of help. They will put their all into it. So, but there are times where I'm like, why is God making me go through this? And just without all the struggles, we never grow. Like, we just never grow as people. And it helps you grow, because afterwards, God helps you get through those struggles.
Yeah.
Well, the harder your struggles, the tougher. God doesn't give you too much. Like, he doesn't give you something he knows you can't do.
Right.
And if God on your side, who can be your enemy?
Right.
Can get
Well,
through
right. Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that because, I've heard it said like this. I don't know who said it, but I've heard it a lot. Like people always ask the question, why? Why, God, why? But nobody asks the question, why not me? Like, why not me? Like, why not? Like, why am I asking why? Like, why not instead ask, God, why not give me some things to go through? Like, why not help me grow? Like, instead we ask the challenging question of, God, why would you do this? Instead of like, why not? Bring it on. Like, I know you're with me. Like, let's get to it. Like, let's grind. And, another thing, this is kind of like I won't say like my own saying, but I've kind of like, warped it into my own words. Like, in order for a crop to grow, there has to be manure. And it's the same thing in our life. We have to have some manure in our life for us to grow. It fertilizes us. So if you're not going through crap, if you're not going through a struggle, it's not that you can't grow, but you're going to grow at a slower pace. Like if you don't go through the manure, if you don't go through the crap, you're not going to grow because you're not being challenged. And a lot of people say like, God's not going to give you anything you can't handle. And I think to an extent that's true, but what if he did? Does that make him any less of a good God? No, because at the end of the day, your strength doesn't come from you. If he gives you something you can't handle, it's because you really can't handle it, but he can. So, he doesn't give you anything you can't handle because he's handling it for you. So like at the end of the day, that's where my joy comes, is like God's in control. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Jesus tells us in John 10:10, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come to give life and life to the full. And people read that and they go, if I believe in God, my life's going to be easier because he told me he's going to give me a full life. And what Jesus means there is not, if you believe in me, you'll be rich, you'll have a comfortable, easy life. What he means is you're going to have a full life through me. I'm going to give you joy and peace through any circumstance. Jesus never once said, this life will be easy if you follow me. In fact, he tells us to pick up our cross and to not live for ourselves, which is not easy. In fact, every single person that followed him was killed because they believed in him. Like the 12 disciples. And so, 11, Judas, killed himself. But like, Paul, Peter, Matthew, everybody, all of his disciples that were his best friends that believed in him were killed because of their faith. And Jesus himself was crucified. So if you think becoming a Christian means your life gets easy, you're wrong. It just means it gets worth living. That's what a full life is.
Because I think it is hard. I think a lot of people, even, and it's not just religious views. A lot of people are scared to say how they feel because they don't know who's going to agree, who's going to disagree, how are you going to look. Christians, like you said, they are not attacked, but it's not the trend. It's not the trend to be a Christian.
No,
I don't know why that is.
Well, it's because
everybody's decision. We got people like you to spread that word and help get people back on track, or at least advise them. God is real. I believe it. You're doing good in life. But I just think it's not the trend no more.
No, well, and it's because there's two things to that. It's because the Bible. How do I say this? The Bible is always going to be contradictory to our desires, because the Bible is not about us, it's about God. And so the reason why people don't like Christians, and there are other reasons, I don't know, the reason people don't like Christians is because Christians don't do a good job of showing Jesus. But the reason why people don't like Christianity in the sense of following God is because the Bible doesn't align with the culture. And it's counterculture. And so it rubs people the wrong way in the sense of it challenges them to change and to live a better life. And so they go, oh, this means I have to stop doing this. And it's not about rules. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is the Bible is clear on things. There are things that are wrong and right. And a lot of us are in that wrong. All of us are in that wrong. And so when you read the Bible and it says, follow me, and Jesus says, follow me and turn from your sins, that's hard for people. They'd rather live in their sins because it's momentary and it's instant gratification. Jesus, it's worth living and it's fulfilling, but you have to stick to it. With sin, oh, if I just go do this drug, or if I just have sex with as many women as I want, or if I watch porn, like that's going to fill me then and now. You know what I mean? And so it goes against everything that our sinful nature wants. It goes against everything the world wants. And so that's what I'd say is that's why it's not popular, because it challenges people, and people don't want to be challenged.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because it's like you said, it's not easy to live as a Christian, because you do have to, make an effort to better yourself every day in some way, shape, or form.
Right, because you're not living for yourself anymore.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like,
all right, I think we're gonna get to some sports now.
Yeah, let's
do
it.
you have anything to say? Because I'm telling you, there is no time limit.
No, man, I don't want to go too deep into this, but I just want to say like one more thing. I promise. Like, America is not anti-Christian, it's post-Christian, but there are actual Christians in the world being persecuted. And so at the end of the day, like, people might not like me for my faith. They might think which I'm not, but a lot of times people think Christians are homophobic, all these things, racist at times, I guess, because, in America, Christianity is looked at as right-wing, like all that kind of thing. And I'm not political, but like there are connotations to it. And so, and people are going to hate me for my faith because it goes against their sinful desires and my sinful desires. And so I don't take offense when people don't like me because of my faith or think I'm weird, because at the end of the day, there's Christians in the Middle East that are actually being killed because they believe in Jesus. And there's people in China that practice their faith and get imprisoned. And so I live in a country where I'm free to follow Jesus. And so all I got to say is that there is actual persecution in the world. I don't experience it really, and I'm not going to say and act like I do. I love Jesus, and if people don't like me for it, that's okay, because I'm not being killed for my faith. So that's kind of where I'm at.
You're right. Yep. And it doesn't matter what you do. You can walk a certain way, and there's going to be somebody who doesn't like it. I mean, you see it with celebrities. No matter what anybody on a big platform says, about 50% of people are going to be with it, and the other half's going to be against it. And there's nothing you can do about that except just own up to your core beliefs, like you were saying, and just be cool with just be accepting of what you believe, and be willing to spread that without. Because I think sometimes, I know you're saying like some Christians definitely do. There's a good way about going, like, spreading the word, compared to maybe a more not forceful way, but like, you're wrong, I'm right. Because it's more of a, like, I'm not right, God is right, and He showed me that, and I'm just trying to show you that. Like, that's exactly. I'm not trying to. Because if somebody just tells you they believe in God because they're just trying to please you for that moment, that doesn't really change anything. But when you keep coming back and just showing them that this really betters my life, like, I'm for real about this, it's because don't feel like you're babbling. Obviously, to some people you are. When I talk about sports, some people literally don't care about sports.
Yeah, there's gonna be people that skip to like the sports section, right? So like,
yep. Yeah. And obviously there's people, but there's, for every person that dislikes it, in my opinion, there's probably 5 to 10 that like it and are interested. And because it is worth listening to, it will better your life.
Even if you don't agree with me, it's a different outlook on life, right? And that's all of us want to be. We all want to hear different opinions, even if we act like we don't. It's beneficial to hear those things. Like, yeah. I'm never going to be a Muslim, but I do find it fascinating to learn about what they believe. So you have to listen to other opinions, or you're going to leave what you believe because you're not being challenged. And so, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's I think some knowledge is important, and it just helps you understand. It just helps you understand more, like, why do Muslims believe in this? Well, that's why, because their Bible, the book of the Quran, like, then that's what they glorify as we glorify the Bible. That's what it tells them to, like. It just helps you understand why people think the way they think.
Well, and if I don't know what they believe, how am I ever going to minister to them what I believe? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it also shows you've done you've done the research on other religions, and this is your most educated. This is what you truly believe on the inside that's your right way to go.
Exactly. Yep.
I've never had no other option. I've never paid attention to anything else, just Christianity, because then you're not open-minded. I think it's important to be open-minded, but not lose. Some people get that, not lose your values and stuff. You can be open-minded, maybe being accepting. Maybe I don't accept it fully, but I'm open-minded to it. I'm not gonna just shut it out just because of the simple fact of I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, well,
it's gotta open your eyes, and that's like you were saying. You like to learn about Muslims. That's cool to me because it just shows you put in the effort to understand everybody, so you can help everybody, and that's that's super unselfish.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And I'm gonna have to have. I'm sure we could probably talk about 24-hour episodes.
Hey, if we ever need to do a donate stream, no, dude, I love you. I mean, even if you get me back on with all the other guys too, because I know your cousin definitely has different view of it, right?
Yep.
I remember that one episode.
Yep.
Because he was like, I don't know what I believe, and I remember you and Johnny were talking to him about it, because I know Johnny's also he believes in Jesus, and so, which is interesting. I was talking to a friend that we went to high school with about Johnny, Miranda Cannon, because I was talking to her. I was going to be on the podcast today, and I was FaceTiming her, and we were talking about things. Oh, dude, what was that?
How is she doing?
She's doing good. She just graduated from Western. I was talking to Miranda about Johnny, and you had asked what she's doing. She's going to do college ministry at Western Michigan University. But I was talking to her about Johnny, because I was like, I'm coming on the show, and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about my faith and what I do. And I was like, I know Parker and Johnny, they consider themselves Christians and things like that. And so, and so I was just telling her about that. So I was really encouraged. I remember in high school, Johnny had really started to search for what he believes. So I was just remembering that. So I'd love to come on the actual everybody show, because I know there'd be Derek's, he got different opinions and just about things, and just you can get into I don't want to get into it today because it could go way too long, but even the topic of demons and aliens, because aliens.
I don't know why this is this the same way for you as a minister? Demons, not in a good way, but they are interesting to me. I just feel I don't like to not open myself up to that, but I think it's good to have knowledge on, as a Christian, demons are your enemy, I guess.
That's 100% it.
Yeah, so it's knowledge on your enemy is never fully a bad thing.
No, it's fast. That stuff is fascinating, but people get too caught up in it, and that's why New Orleans, that is a very demonic place, because they glorify it, right? They have a culture of glorifying the darkness of the world, and so as Christians, we are the light of the world, but we need to know our enemy, like you said. And so it's the concept of spiritual warfare. I believe spiritual warfare is around us every day, and if you don't know your enemy and how he attacks and what he does, the devil, and how his demons attack, whether that's temptation or other things, you're going to fail. And so, yeah, it is fascinating. Some of it's true that you research, and there's a lot of bull crap out about it, so you got to use discernment, but that stuff is fascinating. And the June 1st, today, they're talking about this week, they're going to release the alien stuff about the UFOs, and everybody's freaking out about that. And so, eventually I hope we can go on the podcast and I can kind of give my idea of what I think that is, whether I think it's Russian drones that we haven't heard about, or aliens, actual aliens, or demons. We could talk about that, but I'd love to come on.
I'll talk to the boys tonight. I know neither of them would mind. You can come on whenever you want, and whenever you have a good, you're our only Christianity expert, I would say, which I know it's hard to be an expert on Christianity, but you're somebody who has studied it for years and years, not just
Yeah.
as a just reading, the I'm not just reading like a couple verses out the Bible. Like, you've studied it. Like, this, it's your
Yeah.
life. It is, which it's every Christian's life, but you've taken it even a step farther and made it your career as well.
Yeah, man. And like, thank you for calling me an expert. I appreciate that. I don't think I am, because I still have so much to learn. God, man, like God is so big and so perfect that if I could comprehend him fully and have all the answers, he wouldn't be God. So I don't have all the answers. There's a lot of things that I don't know, with theology. Like, I have a firm theology, but there are some things where I'm like, I don't have the answer. I don't know. So I appreciate you calling me an expert, but one day when I'm in heaven and I'll finally understand everything, then I'll truly be an expert. But for now, I'm glad that that you guys have given me a space to talk about this too. Like, you have given me a space, and if you consider me kind of the guy your go-to for the podcast to talk about Jesus, then I'm flattered. So thank you.
Oh, definitely. I know, just like I said, I know you know what you're talking about. Like, I
appreciate
can
it.
just tell. I can tell when somebody knows what they're talking about or doesn't.
Well, I appreciate it, because again, I told you earlier, like, sometimes I wonder if I'm just like spewing out words. So, but man, let's get some.
Everything you say is structured. It makes sense. Makes sense with whatever message you're trying to get out. It all good, and you're able to tie it all in together, which is very important. Because sometimes it's hard to. You do end up. There's sometimes on the podcast where I'm talking with Johnny, especially the ones I shoot by myself, where I'm talking and I just look at the camera and I'm like, I don't even remember what the beginning of this note was. Like, what was it? It's hard to not ramble on, but you haven't done that at all. You're very, very good at talking about it, which doesn't surprise me. Doing what you do, that's your job, is to figure it out.
Yeah, man. All right, dog, let's get into some sports, real talk.
But yeah, like I was saying, it's going to be interesting just because the water bottle thing. If it's at Boston, I think it's gonna get intense. Wouldn't surprise me if a few technicals happen, because I'm sure
Boston, right?
Like, fully I don't know. It's a weird, because I also think like that doesn't give you a right to throw anything at somebody. I can understand why it'd make you want to do that, but at the end, it is just like whatever. It's he stomped on a court. Like, it's not
like, I don't know. I have like a struggle with it, like, because like, yeah, that guy shouldn't have done that, but like at the same time, and I'm not saying it's okay, but if we go back to like the 80s, bro, that crap happened all the time. Like, I don't want to say it's soft, because it's wrong. Like, a guy should not do that. You should be a man enough to be like to be able to separate your feelings and not throw a freaking water bottle. But at the same time, like, Kyrie, so like Bill Laimbeer did that kind of crap to the Bulls, or like to any player, like he did it to the Celtics. He talked about it, that he would go and spit on the leprechaun and stomp on it. But here's the difference between why that's okay versus Kyrie. Bill Laimbeer never played for the Celtics.
That is true.
Kyrie played for the Celtics. Kyrie, you couldn't get it done with the Celtics. You wanted to prove that you didn't need LeBron. You go to the Celtics. You didn't do anything. You leave because you couldn't do anything. You leave to go be on a super team, and then you come back like they did you dirty. And maybe there was some dirt. There's some stuff that happened, but you couldn't get it done, dude. And so you come back and do that to the floor. Yeah, the Celtics fans aren't going to like you, because you said you could do it without LeBron. You couldn't do it with LeBron, so you left us. Like, screw. Like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because it's like he's made the biggest deal about, because there's been a lot of interactions with fans and players. He's made the biggest deal.
It's been crazy.
But yet he's like, you did something to maybe provoke somebody. Still doesn't make it right what they did, but it wasn't just out of nowhere. Trae Young was passing the ball in. He got spit on. And
I couldn't do that.
Oh, like that, bro. That's That's like the ultimate level of disrespect to me, is spitting on somebody. And then Russell Westbrook, somebody dumped popcorn on his head while he was leaving the game injured.
That boy Russell's
they
always getting something
about it, and it's like they didn't ask for it. They just played the game and got seriously disrespected. Like you sort of disrespected somebody, and then they did something disrespectful back. But it's still, you didn't physically touch anybody or try to do anything to a person. So nobody should do that to him.
No, not at all. And I also kind of think the more, and the players have a right to complain about it. That's not what I mean. But the more they complain about it, the more things are going to happen. Like,
because
it creates
heads.
That's why this last week there has been like 5 different separate occasions of things happening, because one, it draws attention from the media. People get a limelight, and what guy 30 years from now doesn't want to tell their grandkids, bro, I threw popcorn on Russell Westbrook. Like, it comes with a narrative, and now that it's all recorded, you can show. So I think it's getting hyped up. Like that guy that ran on the court, was it yesterday? And got absolutely demolished. Like,
bro, that security guard is not playing.
I don't mind people running on the floor. I kind of think it's funny. Like, but the popcorn and throwing a water bottle.
Speared, man. They always get speared, and as long as they don't try to mess with anybody, like none of the players, because it would be scary as a player. I could see just somebody, you never know what they're there to do. If it's just run around and cause a little scene, all right, that doesn't bother me.
Well, and you're so tunnel vision too. So when you see just a random person coming at you, and you get that adrenaline, but it's okay. I'm gonna tell a funny story, but you're gonna make fun of me because you said you never know what that fan's intentions are. When you're a little kid and you kind of play basketball by yourself and you create storylines almost of 3, 2. Yeah. So what I would do, bro, I'm such an idiot, bro. I would make a storyline, and bro, I'd be in college. In my storyline, I'd have a girlfriend watching me at the game. I'd wave to her in the stands, and then I'd act like a fan ran on the ran on the court and shot me, and I would shoot after the last shot, and I'd be 3, 2, 1, and a fan ran on the court and shot me, but the ball still went in, and I'd lay on the ground, and I'm just why did I do that? It's the same thing, but it's not.
Yeah, it's so I used to have my granny, man, on the little, those little hoops you can hang from the walls. I used to have my granny be my sports broadcaster, Parker Munson. If he can't do it, nobody can. While I'm sitting there dunking on a little hoop, those were good times though. You could do nothing, and it was one of you could make nothing into just something.
Bro, it's so true. I remember I'd take So Logan Tiller, for example, he's a Michigan State fan. I'm an Indiana fan. Shane's a Michigan fan. And so I'd create storylines. You're a Michigan fan too.
I got to roll with Shane on that one.
Right. And so I'd be at home by myself, and I'd be okay, we're in March Madness, we're in the tournament, and it's Indiana versus Michigan State. Logan Tiller, Tim Thomas, childhood best friends. Logan's not even at my house, mind you. I'm playing by myself, and I'd go okay. And then I'd be well, for example, let's use you. I'd be well, Parker's on my team. So I'd be Tim passes the ball to Parker, but really it's just me catching it. And then I go, oh, he crosses his childhood best friend, Logan Tiller, over. But he's not even there. And I do this whole storyline with all my friends, bro. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, wait, time out.
Real talk. We used to record ourselves and do random stuff.
All right, hey, before we go anywhere else, well, so we talked about the fan stuff, and that's getting crazy. But who? I know you talk about this in a lot of your podcasts, who your favorite team is going to be to win the thing. Maybe not who you think is going to win. Maybe not who you think is going to win. Who do you? I don't want necessarily all right, I think this team is going to win. What team would you like to see win? Not who's most likely to win.
Yeah, I would love to see Utah Jazz. That is my number one team that's in the playoffs right now. I would love to see them win just because they're all natural, all organic. The rebuild is just
It's all rebuilt.
Yeah, it's a rebuild. It wasn't just like we got 5 stars this offseason.
They didn't buy it.
Yeah, let's go win it all. Because they got Donovan Mitchell in the draft a couple years ago, who was a steal. The Pistons passed up on him, but
they pass on. Okay, they pass up on everybody.
Yeah, I know. Every year, it's literally somebody they pass up on.
Literally, it's the star of the draft, I feel like.
Yeah, I know. This year they're gonna have a top, probably for sure 5 draft picks, so they could.
Yeah, but knowing us, that guy's gonna be a bust.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, we literally drafted Darko Milicic over Carmelo Anthony. A long list of future Hall of Famers.
The best draft class of like all time.
Yeah, and we got Darko Milicic. But hey, technically, we still did win a ring with him. But it just had nothing to do because of him.
Well, dude, it's not just the Pistons though. It's every Detroit team. Like it's this is what happens with Detroit teams. Their players leave and then they go play great somewhere else.
Literally, it's like they just use Detroit starting lineup every game, so they get that that experience in, and then they go somewhere else and just even Tigers. Like, do you remember Curtis Granderson? A long time. Yeah, like he was, which that was one of my favorite Tigers of all time. Like that, since I've been watching them, he was one of my favorite players they had. Which he was good for us, but he wasn't amazing. Goes to the Yankees, like his 40-some home runs, like
that 1 year, yeah.
The Yankees. I'm just like, where was this? Like, what the heck? It is crazy.
Even with the Tigers, I think with the Tigers, it's more evident because. Justin Verlander was amazing for us, but then he had those like 3 or 4 years where because he got surgery, he lost his velocity, and he wasn't very good. And then his last year with us, he was all right. And then he goes to the Astros, and he's pretty much Cy Young caliber. And then same with Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was always good with us. He was amazing with us. Like he was Cy Young caliber with us too. But then he goes to the Nationals, wins a national championship. David Price, same thing. Goes and wins a national championship. Rick Porcello goes to Boston.
Yep, I was just going to say Rick Porcello.
And I might be wrong, and I can be fact-checked, but this was our pitching staff at one point. David Price, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez, and Rick Porcello were our starting. And we didn't win a championship. We didn't win a World Series.
Nope, we went all the way there and lost to the Giants.
That's Detroit in a nutshell.
Yeah, it honestly is because it's like their GMs. I don't know what's wrong with some of their GMs, but it's like even the Pistons, which we got rid of Drummond this year, but like we got rid of him. That was our star player, which he's not somebody you can build a team around in today's NBA, but he's not bad. We got rid of him for 2 expiring contracts and then like a 2025 second round pick.
Right.
Like, we can't get a better at least draft pick than that. Like I feel like we just took like
Then you got like a team like Oklahoma City. They're set for the next 20 years. I have never seen a team just get as many draft picks. Like they are so set.
Yeah, they're gonna be. Yeah, because their GM's mindset is pretty much let's hoard draft picks, and that it's gonna work because eventually some of them are gonna hit that, or you're gonna get players in turn for those draft picks if you trade.
I mean, you got Dort and you got Shea. Those are young stars, bro.
Bro, definitely.
But I'll tell you the team that I want to see win. I want to see the Mavs win.
I would be fine with that.
2 reasons. Mark Cuban, Indiana alum. Mark Cuban, that's a Hoosier. I'm a big Hoosier fan. Second, I adore Luka. I think he's a crybaby at times. I don't like that. But his game to me is so beautiful. The way he plays, it's so methodical and so different. It's a different with an NBA that was run and gun 3, and he does shoot 3s. He's brought it back more to, I don't want to even say fundamentals, but more of it's methodical and it's tactical.
Yeah.
That's how he plays the game. It's tactical, and he's a killer. Like, he's a 22-year-old just killer. Like, that's how he plays. And I think that's another reason why I really like him is because he's 22. Like, he's my age. And there are young stars like Ja and Zion, but, like, he's on a different level. And Tatum's kind of the same way, but I still view Luka above Tatum. And so I want the Mavs to win. I know they freaking sucked these last 2 games, and now it's 2-2.
I got money on them. I told Johnny. Johnny does not believe in Luka. I believe in Luka. Me and him have $5 on the series, and it's.
I think they'll pull it off.
Luka is just, I don't know, man. He's just like
he's our Larry Bird, bro.
There's no other stars on his team. Kristaps Porzingis is good, no doubt, and he's better than average. But he's not like LeBron has Anthony Davis. If you look at every other team, like Damian Lillard has C.J. McCollum and Yusef Nurkic. The Lakers have a whole supporting cast. The Brooklyn Nets have a whole supporting cast. Like, it's literally him and Porzingis as his next guy, and then he's got like Tim Hardaway, but he doesn't have other solid.
Yeah. I mean, they got freaking Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, like, which I mean, that dude's huge though. He's massive. Like, he looks like he's like 7'6" on the court for some reason.
That might be another reason why I want them to win, honestly, just because of Boban. But
Boban, yeah, he came from the Pistons. That dude is not bad. That dude is not bad.
He's not bad. He's just not coordinated because he's too big.
Yeah. Lakers and Suns. Who do you think's gonna win that one?
Who do I think will ultimately win it?
Yeah, the series.
Lakers.
Yeah, I do too.
Lakers, but I don't want them to.
I don't either. I'd like.
Okay, that's so funny because I'm wearing a Lakers hat. I'm just wearing it for fashion, but nah, man. Like, I like Devin Booker, but I'm a big fan of Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul to me, he's not the GOAT, but he's the embodiment of what it looks like to be a winning player. I know he hasn't won a championship, but he's been on some bad teams, and he's always bringing them to the playoffs.
Oh,
like OKC last year?
Yeah, bro.
Like, the Hornets not won a championship.
Like 10 years of his career, maybe like, I don't know, 7 to 10 years with the Charlotte Hornets. He had like nobody really, and they were always in the playoffs because of Chris Paul, and he's a winner.
Yeah, and that's my thing. He'll never win a championship, but he'll be one of the greatest to never win.
Yeah,
and he's one of the greatest point guards of all time. So I want the Suns to win. They won't win.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to see them. They're favored to win today. I see most of the analysts picked the Suns today. So I think injury or something. I think Anthony Davis might not be playing today. So
if he's out, I think.
If that's the case, they definitely have a chance. But I do think, I don't know. I just have a strong feeling Suns or Lakers are going to pull it off.
I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of just get their heads out of their butt and end up going to the championship again.
Yep. The Wizards stuck around. They did not. They weren't going for the sweep, man. 76ers had them down 3-0, and Is
it 3-1?
What was that?
Is it 3-1 right now?
Yep. Wizards are down. Tobias Harris was the leading scorer for the Sixers, which he had 21 points, 13 boards, and 5 assists. So he's a very underrated player. He always puts up good numbers. And then Bradley Beal had 27. So, and then I think Russell had 19. He got very close to a triple double. He had 19 points. I think like 8 rebounds and 9 assists. So he's. What do you think about that? Do you think he tries to pad his stats, or do you think because I feel like a lot of days, like if the team knows like a player's close to getting a triple double, like they will try to go out of their way if they can to get that player the triple double.
That's such a good question. I think I'm gonna get hated for this. Does he pad his stats? I think when it's convenient, probably. But Do I think he gets overhated? 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's as good as Michael Jordan, but in the sense of what he can do, like, do you know what I mean? Like, the way he plays and the dominance every game as an individual.
Yeah.
And I know he's not dropping 81 like Kobe. That's not what I mean. But the dominance of never taking a day off, every grinding and never stopping. And not only does he get the triple-double, they're not amazing, but his teams win.
Yeah.
When he's not playing, his teams do not win. Like, the stat is crazy. I don't know the exact numbers, but like, if he is not in the game, they never win. Like, it's just how it is. You can't tell me that what he does not improve a team. I think he gets hated. I think in the history books, he has some of the best stats that some of them will never be recreated. Like his triple-double, bro, I don't know who's gonna do that. Luka's like the only one I could think might be able to get, so he does some things that we've never seen before in a game that is so much harder to play in.
Definitely.
Comparatively skill-wise, not physically, but in skill-wise. So I love Russell. They're not going to win the series. Does he stat pad? Probably at times. But if you were averaging a triple-double for your career, you would too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, shut up. Like, don't be prideful. Like, you would do the same thing.
That's what they're all doing. Like, every single stat you get, you're technically padding them. Like, you're in it to get stats. If you don't get good stats, like, you're not going to be in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, enough with that nonsense.
The Utah Jazz move up 3-1 on the Grizzlies, which that's been a good series. Like, it's almost every game.
I want the Jazz to win.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have Jazz winning. I think they're gonna. Like I said, I'd like to see them make a deep playoff run. I just don't. I don't know. I feel like they usually fall apart, but we'll see.
They will.
Had 30. Ja Morant had 23.
I like Ja.
Oh yeah, I like him too. That's why that's a hard one. But Donovan Mitchell's been my favorite player since he's been in the league. Ever since I seen this time contest, bro, and just that was like, yeah, this dude's something else. Like, he's just a different. He's so like aggressive and super humble. That's one of my favorite things about him. Like in his interviews and stuff. I think Charles Barkley was the one who said it. It was either him or Shaquille O'Neal. They told him in a post-game interview he had just dropped like 40 points. Shaquille told him, like, in his honest opinion, he would never take it, to the next step, like in his career.
Donovan? Yeah, Donovan.
Yeah, and Donovan just looked at him and said, like, I've been hearing that my whole career, so.
Yeah, I respect that too.
He wasn't, talking crazy or nothing. I can just tell he's like a very humbled guy. It seems like, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, what are your favorite sports? What's your favorite sport to watch? And who are your favorite teams for each sport?
Okay, my favorite sport to watch is basketball, 100%. I love the NBA, but I'm more college. But I keep up with the NBA. College basketball, I'm an Indiana University IU fan, the Hoosiers. Like, not just fan, like mega fan. Like, I don't even know, it's an obsession at times. So that's that. I'm a Detroit fan in a lot of ways, but also, I have a lot of ties to Indiana. Pacers, the Colts, baseball, it's the Tigers, obviously. Basketball, honestly, and I like the Pistons, but if I'm going to be real, like the Pacers are probably more my team.
Yeah.
And football, man, I have my love for Detroit and the Lions is my same love for the Colts. I would say in the last couple of years, I've kind of fallen more in love with the Lions. But now that, honestly, Stafford's gone, that's going to be a struggle for me because I absolutely love Stafford. But I'm still a Lions fan. I think, what's his name? Frick.
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, I think it could be an interesting thing. But then you look at the Colts, and they just got Carson Wentz, which I think in that system, I think he actually might do good.
Yeah.
And I like Carson Wentz. He's a man of faith, big Christian. But Yeah, man. So I'd say for football, it's Lions and Colts, and that's kind of my top three. I don't really watch anything else,
Yeah.
but basketball for sure.
Oh yeah, that's I knew you were an Indiana fan. Like anybody who knows you, it doesn't matter how much they know you. If they know you, they know you're an Indiana fan.
I mean, I got that IU monopoly right there.
Yep.
This is half of an IU like board for my wall. Like most of the things I wear, probably IU. Like everything is Indiana. Like football too. Like not just basketball because they're a basketball school, but honestly, they're more of a football school right now.
I love college sports honestly way better than professional.
It's a tradition.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I don't know. I just feel like you can. There's still that hunger, like they're still grinding, to get where they want to be. So you just see more.
100%. Yeah, because like not all of them are going to go pro, so this is their last chance to do anything with that sport. So they're going to do what they can, and there's their tradition. The fans are better. Everything, the atmosphere, it's just so much better.
The Tigers left the Yankees. They're playing the Brewers today, and they lost to the Brewers yesterday by 2. But yeah, the series before that they swept the Yankees, which is a pretty big deal because I feel like not a lot of people know the Tigers were complete trash last year. Their record wise,
one of the worst teams in the MLB. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had like 30-some wins and 120 or 130 losses. So it was a rough season. And this year, like they are playing not bad at all. They look like
they're competing.
Huh?
They're competing.
Yeah. Like that's what I like to see. I just don't like to see like if you lose 30 games or you win 30 games and only lose or geez, oh Pete, you win 30 games and lose 130. Like that's terrible. That is terrible.
You're literally the worst. You're basically a minor league team.
Yeah. Honestly.
Well, and it's tough for us because we grew up watching the Tigers. They didn't win a championship, World Series, sorry, but they were good. Like, I mean, Miguel Cabrera. We had when we were real young, Pudge Rodriguez.
They had
Verlander, or Maglio when we were real young. Like, and then we get into middle school and early high school. We had Torrey Hunter, Prince Fielder, Miguel, like everybody, like, and so we know when the Tigers are good. Like, it blows my mind today that kids don't know how good Miguel Cabrera was.
I know, man, because he was so good.
They sleep on him. Like, obviously, he doesn't have the numbers of being like the number one home runs, whatever. He is one of the best hitters of all time. Like, and kids don't know that, and it frustrates me. But yeah, like the Tigers, man, they're in a weird spot right now. Like, they're playing good, but it doesn't mean anything right now.
Yep.
Except for the future. Yeah. So, you hope that they continue to play good. They're so young, but also they have some old guys still hanging around, holding them back. I love Miguel. His contract's so big.
Oh, yeah, it is. But, we got a lot of years out of that contract.
I wish he'd just retire. Because
we could get another star, bro, but not until we're done paying him.
Well, and what saddens me, man, is that, and I know COVID absolutely ruins it, but even last year before COVID, the year before COVID, like the last couple of years, we used to sell out Comerica Park. Well, the Tigers did. The last couple of years, they do not sell out anymore. We are one of the baseball stadiums that are empty, which is not normal. Which is not normal for a Detroit team because even when we suck, Red Wings, the Lions, we're full. Especially the Lions. Like, that is a full stadium every time. So it's bizarre to me.
Yeah, Ford Field's a fun stadium to go to.
I've never been.
I usually go once or twice a season, and
I've never been to an NFL game in my life.
It's honestly one of the newer stadiums, which is surprising just because it's the Lions, but it's very nice and it gets loud in there. Like it does get.
Yeah.
Tarzan. I honestly do not know if this is the voice actor for the cartoon or the live action actor, Joe Lara. he passed away in a plane crash. He was 53. So, rest in peace to him.
Was he flying it?
No, I don't know if he was flying it, but him and 7 others, I believe it was a private jet. So I believe there's a pilot, whoever, he wasn't flying it. Like they pretty much bought their own pilot. Sort of like, what the hell? I'm trying to think. The whole Juice World. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Like it's a pilot, but they don't work for whoever. Like Kobe Bryant was a little different because I think that was like his personal pilot. Like that's
it was,
yeah.
I get what you mean. That's sad.
Yeah, that's rough. Just I can only imagine it's a scary way to go. Very hectic, and it's just fearful. So rest in peace to him and the 7 others that were with him. Bitcoin is now available. You can use it if you own it on Coinbase, which I don't use Coinbase for anything, but it's like Robinhood, but just for cryptos. You can add it on Apple and use it at the store, which is it might become like a regular currency, like how we use the dollar. We might be using hopefully Dogecoin because I have a lot of Dogecoin, but.
Dude, this is gonna sound. I know nothing about that crap, bro. Like, it's I try to look into it a little bit, and I just get like lost and like.
It's hard, dude. It's so hard. Even people.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, some people, math and money and that stuff makes sense to them. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's just not there for me.
Yep. See, with me, I just go with because there is a lot of numbers and stuff you can pay attention to. You just got to make your best educated guess, and then never.
Yeah.
I try to preach this with anything. Like, do not put because to me, it's almost like you're gambling. Because some people who have money will just throw like $10,000 into one stock, not knowing what it's going to do. And
right,
you could test it in a matter of minutes. So it is important. Just put money like you do not care about. Like you could live without whatever. Don't overdo it. I've known people who have overdone it
and they lose everything.
Going to the casino, which I've never been to a casino, but I've heard of stories about people going to the casino and just dropping like $4,000, and they were going there planning on not even spending more than like $100.
And they never get it back.
Never. It's gone. And that's honestly, that's how casinos make money, and that's how the stock market makes money. It's
a game.
They're sort of gambling on you to lose. So just don't make it about winning or losing. Just if you can just use it. I almost use mine as a savings account, honestly. Like, and it's just a little more interesting and makes it easier to actually save the money and not like want to touch it. Like it's just gone in the savings.
That's
JBS, they're a meat company. There's a plant in Kalamazoo. They're the largest meat distributor in the world, which they're all over North America and South America. They were a victim of a cyber attack. So some Australian internet gang hacked them, and they pretty much can't run right now until they gets figured out. It's sort of like the oil thing, because that pipeline company is the same thing that happened to that was a British internet gang, or I think they're from the UK that hacked into them and down. So it's crazy how that's becoming more and more.
Internet. Can you imagine the Bloods and the Crip just become an internet gang instead?
Yeah, it's like, is that what the next level of crime is gonna be? Is like we're gonna hack your business and give us some money?
Which almost seems scarier in a way, because there's no limit to that. There's no you can move to an area where there is no gang activity, right? Or crime,
right.
But if it's online, you can't escape that.
Yeah. And you know how much
you can have your VPNs and things, but
and stuff, like that can be bad because if I mean these big companies have like very, very strong like VPNs and
That's
firewalls.
what I was
Like
gonna say.
they have protections, and these people are still halfway across the world, literally forcing a company that's in North America from Australia to shut down just from being on a computer. Like, so it
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
crazy
it's
the
yeah.
capabilities.
Well, and it's like we'll never like none of us will have even like the software to protect us like not church, but like build those businesses do. So if
Yeah.
they're getting it, we'll probably get it.
Oh yeah. All right, man. That's all the news we got for this week. Is there anything big news wise you want to talk about? Anything interesting?
I
I
mean,
feel like we hit a lot. We got a lot in a good episode.
bro, we kind of went crazy.
Oh yeah, my boy Timmy, he has his own. As I'm sure you know, if you've watched this episode, he is a youth pastor. He has his own like talk show where he interacts with some of the youth that he works with. That is very cool. Need to go check that out. I'm gonna have a link below this video, so you'll be able to
Sick.
just check it out right there.
Man.
Subscribe to that. It's good content. You get to hear good stories and just it's a little, it's not the average, like you turn on a TV show and maybe it's just a preacher preaching. It's a little different. So it's a nice,
Yeah.
unique on Christianity, which is,
Yeah,
it's,
definitely.
it's just different. So that's always cool.
I
Check
appreciate
that
that.
out. Subscribe to Inside the Doghouse Park and Inside the Doghouse. We'll be making a new video this Saturday, dropping that Sunday. But yeah, that's all we got for this week. So you guys have a nice week. Parker Munson, I'm out of here.
Do I say it? Tim Thomas, I'm out of here.
Oh yeah, Tim Thomas out here. You'll be seeing more of them, so don't worry. You guys will be seeing much more of Timmy. But yeah, all right, man. You guys have a good week. We will see you in a couple days on Inside the Doghouse Park.